Welcome back. It is January 14th. Oh, whoa. I'm going to smoke some weed this episode. I might smoke weed the whole 2022 because it's 2020 part 2. This year's going to be fucking crazy. I can't imagine it's going to be good. It's already getting off to a wild start. We have the year anniversary of January 6th, which everyone's just talking about and getting all riled up again. Todd had coronavirus. Maybe he had flurona. You heard flurona is coming around. Pi, the never-ending variant, is coming up soon. We got Omicron, Delta, this and that. But what I want to talk about first, it happened to me yesterday. I've been talking about it for a while. I've been making kind of like jokes about it, although they're not really jokes. But my neighborhood last week, I think we had 10 carjackings.
Yeah, dude, people have been shooting back. That's my favorite part of it. These
Lyft
get perforated.
A Lyft driver last week shot back, which is pretty cool. Hit 2 of the people who are trying to get him. But my area, I think we had 10 carjackings last week, literally all within like 5 blocks of me. I don't know if you heard about the Philadelphia fire. Was at 23rd Street. I live on 26th Street, so that was 3 blocks away. Pretty tragic fire, pretty wild too. That there's a 5-year-old who lit the tree on fire with a lighter, which is just wild. Plus a lot of like issues with the fire alarms, but whatever. What was interesting though is there were a lot of cops in the neighborhood for the last week because of that fire, and there's still 10 carjackings, which is just wild. Then was a little bit worrisome is seems like some houses are starting to get broken into. So kind of what I thought is that's the next logical progression is people can get away with stealing cars, no problem. You get a couple $1,000s for them, bring it to the chop shop, and then you're not really going to get in trouble or caught. So now why not just go into homes, break into the home, and then take the people's jewelry, whatever. By the time the cops can come, you're gone and can be done. So this has been happening. I've been saying, oh, this sucks. What's going to happen? I'm a little worried because like it's been happening broad daylight even. I don't want to get carjacked. That's terrifying. Yesterday, I go to the park. I'm bringing my Popeyes to my friend who lives in a tent at the park. He's very appreciative. He's the man. He opened up the Popeyes right away. He's like, oh, thanks so much. Started feasting right away. He actually made like a whole display on his bench, like made a whole little buffet out of it. It was pretty dope. And then I realized my trailer got stolen, which sucks. Last time I saw it was probably a week ago. I think my brother saw it 3 days ago. So it got stolen sometime in the last like 3 days. But makes me come to the discussion for the day, I guess. The crime is out of control. Philadelphia saw over 500 murders last year. We're on pace already to beat that this year, which was a record last year. When is it going to stop? How is it going to stop? Is it going to stop? What's going to happen? What do you think? Because it's not just Philly also. It's every city. And it's not even just every city. It's kind of all over the country. You're just seeing the biggest numbers happen in cities. But crime is up from petty robbery to armed robbery to murder to fraud. It's all up. What are we doing?
I mean, look, man, I think part of the reason I left Philly was just because it was going to be too expensive to try to raise a family and do all that when it was ready. And like, I think we got out just in time for all this crime going crazy. And look, you got DAs in these cities. I don't know if you heard about the new DA in Manhattan who basically said that the only people we're going to throw in jail are if you're like a murderer or a rapist. Like it's nuts. And I think that it's honestly like, look, man, you get what you voted for. I know you didn't support Krasner. I know you don't, but the city as a whole is supporting weak on crime district attorneys who are more interested in coddling criminals than advocating for victims. And the word is now getting out that like, look, man, it's a free-for-all. Like like if they find the person who stole your trailer, that person is going to get no charges. They'll get charged, but it won't be anything significant. They're not going to do anything full time.
Dude, I just sorry to cut you off. I'll let you go again in a sec. But I got my scooter stolen about 10 years ago by this guy Halim Gardner. Fuck you, Halim Gardner. How do I know it was Halim Gardner? They found my bike. They found Halim Gardner sitting on my bike in South Philadelphia, but because it wasn't on when he was sitting on it, they couldn't get him in trouble. And then my bike cost, I think it was like a $2,400 bike. It was going to cost me $1,200 to get the bike back from the police lot. Why? Because of like impounded and holding fees. And then I don't know if the bike even worked anymore. I would have to pay that just to find out if the bike worked. And most likely the bike didn't work. So I basically didn't get the bike back because it was going to cost 50% of the price for most likely something that was broken. It would be more economical to just get a new one. So same thing with this trailer. It's like, I'm going to report it just for the stats or whatever of the city. But even if they found it, it's probably going to like cost me more money just to get my own property back in worse shape. So it's like, it's almost not worth it.
Well, you know, on the plus side, at least Philadelphia has really low, reasonable taxes, right? Like, it's not like you're paying an arm and a leg to live in the city, right?
Dude, I had to sell my homes because of taxes. My home.
Christ the river! I just sell my multiple homes. Look, you're not gonna get any sympathy out of anyone with that.
My home was originally $3,000 a year in taxes. 2 years after buying it, it went up to $7,000. That $4,000 it went up was my profit. I literally couldn't afford it anymore. I had to sell.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
Granted, it was a little bit on my fault. I didn't do the appeal or whatever to make it go down. But it's like, why is it on me to fucking be able to afford a home that I bought? Like, why do they just fucking put the prices up so high?
You know, it's look, man, I think I've tried to convince you to move down south somewhere, maybe not North Carolina, but I feel like the city's gonna push you out all on its own.
I'm on my way out 100% it. Like, I've been on my way out for a little bit, and I'm of the opinion, a lot of people think I'm crazy when I say it. It's only gonna get worse and worse and worse and wilder and wilder. I've been saying it. I think the Civil War started last year, and I was kind of alluding to it before. The 20s are gone. I think the whole decade's gonna be fucking nuts with COVID and everything else. I think we're at the beginning of this, and like, cities are gonna get wild. Those are gonna be the battlegrounds where a lot of the action takes place, and I kind of just don't want to be here for it.
Look, I know you run in a lot of like very liberal, sort of hippie, pot smoking, long haired, you know, incense burning wackos. And what do they think about all this? Like, are they starting to be like, you know, this is getting a little ridiculous? Like, because like all the people I know that are like more like libertarian or conservative, they're like, yeah, this place is a goddamn shithole. Like, things are going wild. Like, they've been saying it since before COVID. And you know, what are your what are like the liberals of Philadelphia thinking about all this?
So most liberals stopped talking to me, but I would say I have noticed a little bit that people who are usually a lot more left leaning are starting to realize like something's got to give, or like, this is ridiculous on both sides. I don't think they're as quick to admit that the left is being like ridiculous, but they're starting to say like, I'm like thinking of 2 or 3 examples within the last 2 weeks of people saying like, yeah, this is pretty ridiculous.
Getting out of hand.
And like a couple people in my neighborhood who are also talking about trying to move sooner rather than later. The whole thing about moving right now is it's tough because it's like prices are high everywhere. So you can get a lot of money for your home if you own, but where are you going to go? There's not too many places to go. Where you're going to get
not if you want to be in like a city. And that's the other thing.
Or even close to a city, like being within 30 minutes of Philadelphia, you're going to spend a lot of money. It's just going to cost a lot. So it's like, it's a lot of people I think want to leave right now or want to move, but are feeling a little bit stuck. you also have the uncertainty of jobs. A lot of jobs just started going back to the office. Like, so now people want to move, but they have to commute now. You don't really want to commute. You're used to like not commuting for the last 2 years. Then you don't want to make your commute an hour and move out of the city. So I think it's a tough situation for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, and I think it's, and I think the thing that when you look at these big cities, when you look at Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, it's like, look, man, I understand that you think Republicans are Nazis, but at some point you're going to be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's time to give the Nazis a chance. I don't like. At what point? At what point are you going to be like, voting reflexively Democrat, no matter what they believe, has actually netted us some pretty bad results. And even though like it grosses you out to even think about voting for a Republican, like maybe it's time to give someone else a chance. I think Eric Adams will be interesting to see how he runs New York City, since he's, basically a Republican for New York City. If when you look at sort of what he views.
Well, I'm interested to why they said, or why he got that DA in there who said they're not prosecuting anyone except rapes and murders, because he's pretty hard on crime, and I feel like
they're separate elected positions. So like he didn't appoint him; he was elected.
Well,
yes, that's why it's setting up. They're gonna butt heads like crazy.
Yeah, so nothing's gonna happen because like it's interesting about him is he's an ex-cop, so he's kind of on the cop side a little bit. He's black, which like doesn't mean you're not on the cop side, but it kind of does mean you're not on the cop side. But then he was beat up by the cops, so then he's he's on all of the sides. You can't really be mad at him. He circles all of the dots. Yeah, crosses all of the dots off.
No, and I think I think that Rudy Giuliani came into power in New York, and I think obviously now he's sort of a nut, but like my family moved to Connecticut and my dad started working in New York City in 1987. When he was walking around Times Square in 87, he would see people injecting heroin. There were prostitutes everywhere. There were the porn theaters.
I remember the prostitutes when I was like 5 years old. I literally remember driving through New York to my grandparents' house, and I remember like stopping at certain red lights and women would like come up and approach. I like distinctively remember that. That was the early 90s, and by the mid to late 90s, completely clean. You couldn't find one of those if you tried. When I was in high school, I was trying to find them.
Like Jeremy's extra lit today. He's all upset about his trip. He's rethinking about trying to find prostitutes in New York. Oh, he's all wound up.
Well, yeah. So enough of the crime. I'm sick of it. What do you have to bring to us for the week?
Oh man, I think that I was going to think about maybe the vaccine mandate getting shut down, but I think more importantly, I don't know if you saw, Joe Biden, the Democrats, they're trying to push these voting rights bills and everything else, and they're all upset because Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema won't vote to change the filibuster. And Joe Biden basically gave a speech in Georgia where he said that if you oppose changing the filibuster, if you oppose these laws, that you're no better than George Wallace or Jefferson Davis or some other crazy racist. So basically it's like, if you oppose changing the filibuster, you are the same as the person who led the Confederacy and was the basically biggest traitor in all of American history. It implied that you're a domestic enemy. That's insane. Yeah. And this idea of getting rid of the filibuster, it's like, do these assholes not realize that Republicans, and quite possibly very soon, will be in power again? And if we don't have a filibuster, they're going to pass all sorts of wacky laws: national ban on abortion, national voter ID, national right to work laws, kneecapping unions. And we're just going to go back and forth trading insane legislation. And like, Joe Biden campaigned on being a unifier, being the person that would bring us all together and would undo the harm done by Trump. And frankly, like, he is on the same level as Trump now in terms of dividing people and just being an absolute just problem in the political system. Like Trump was more of an asshole, and Trump said more like disgusting things. But in terms of like what is actually being said and the rhetoric that is using, like Joe Biden is insane. Like he's nuts. And the thing is, like, I don't even think it's him. Like, I don't think he's smart enough or with it enough to put together these thoughts. But like, whoever's got a hand up his ass and is moving his mouth is like, you're just stoking the fires of this civil war that, you know, I think has been brewing, this cold civil war, and it's only going to get worse.
Yep. But I completely agree. And I guess I never realized until like recently, maybe last 5 years, that like to me it's obvious that that's being what he said about Jefferson Davis or whatever is exaggerated and obviously not true and a little bit ridiculous. What I never realized though is most of the country doesn't realize that, and people take these words very seriously. That's kind of why Donald Trump was so dangerous, and that's why Joe Biden is so dangerous also, and AOC and Bernie Sanders and all of them, is because they say this outrageous and super exaggerated terminology like defund the police, and half the country takes it as what it is, like word for word, and go, oh, we need to defund the police are horrible. And it's like, yeah, maybe Joe Biden and AOC didn't mean it, even though they did say they meant it. But when you say that, there's 100 million Americans who repeat it, not thinking about it. And you see these people all over these comment boards everywhere on social media, literally copying and pasting exactly what Joe Biden's saying. And now I won't be surprised when people say, you're no better than Jefferson Davis now, whenever someone says, no, I don't support these voting rights. And it's like, you're right, that's sick, that's outrageous. And it's like, how is that being productive?
Well, and the thing that is nuts, and I blame the media for not taking this up or talking about it. You know, everyone has heard about this Georgia voting law that's basically, they're calling it, you know, segregation or Jim Crow 2.0, and it's absolutely crazy. Joe Biden's home state of Delaware has more restrictive voting laws than Georgia had before they passed the law and after they passed the law. Connecticut, New York, deep blue states, both have more restrictive voting laws than Georgia or Texas. And this thing that, like, it's nuts. Like, there's just, like, all I want consistency, and I want people to like look at facts honestly. Like, I had a friend of mine in Philly who was like, I was thinking about moving to Georgia, but like I wouldn't now because of this voting law. And I'm like, well, what about the voting law? And he's like, well, it's just so bad. And I'm like, well, you know that Delaware and New York have more restrictive voting laws than Georgia. And he's like, well, that's not true. And I go, no, it is. And he goes, no, it's not. And he goes, what do you mean? He's like, well, I've been seeing in the media that it's like the most restricted voting in like the entire country. And it's like, well, that's just not true. Like, it's by the facts, not true.
Exactly. And what's interesting too is that's exactly what I mean, of that person's just mimicking or copying what they're hearing, and it's dangerous. And then that person's also buying products from China, who literally has concentration camps, and they don't care about that. And I saw a lot of people just reminded me, saying like they're not buying anything that has business in Texas anymore after the abortion law. And it's like, bro, but you still support China that has concentration camps.
Yeah.
Where's the logic?
But you know, I understand because they're so pro-abortion. I guess they do support China because China forces abortions on people. So I guess that's like the most pro-abortion you could be. It's like, right? You don't even get a choice. It's just like, you get an abortion now. And it's like, oh, wow, I didn't even want one. It's like, yeah, one. Yeah. So I guess maybe they're like super, super, super pro-choice.
Makes no sense. No, it's just following what the TV's telling them to do. That's what they're doing.
Well, and you know, the thing is, and you bring up that there's like 100 million people that do it. And the thing is, it's like, it's not even 100 million people. The thing is that is so messed up is that a vast majority of Americans don't even pay attention or care about this stuff. What we have is we've got, let's call it 15 to 25 million people on each side, on the right and the left, that are just vocal and screaming. And then the media then pays attention to them, and it's this little bubble they create, this little reality. Like, I just read some statistic. It was like it's like 25% of Americans are on Twitter. And of the 25% of those users, I think it's like 6% or like 20% of the people on Twitter account for 97% of all tweets put out. So if you look at it, like people look at Twitter as like, oh, it's like the pulse of America. We understand what's going on. But I think it worked out to about 6% of Americans are responsible for almost everything you see on Twitter. And the fact that we look at that in any way as being like the real world is nuts. Like it's complete and utter nonsense.
Yep.
And it's so we just live in this world that it's like a fishbowl, and and I think that most people are just like, you know what, I'm good. Like I'm stepping back. Like I just don't want to be involved in it.
But then you let the other side win.
I guess, man. I don't know, but like I think I think that hopefully what happens is I think the Republicans are going to dominate in the 2022 elections. I think if honestly, like we are approaching a point where Trump might actually get reelected president, which I think will be like nuts. Like I know you don't own a gun, but if Trump's going to get reelected, maybe borrow a couple from that buddy of yours.
Yeah, dude, January 6th, 2025 will be insane if Trump gets elected.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think this, like, I wish I had like made a public prediction, because when people are like, oh, 2021, it's so good to have 2020 behind us. And I was just like, it's only going to get worse. Like we have these vaccinations now. It's going to be debates about vaccines. It's going to be debates about, well, I don't need to wear a mask because I'm vaccinated. It's just going to go. And like basically everything that I thought would happen panned out exactly. It's just like, it's going to be more chaotic, it's going to be more divided. This congressional election coming up in 2020 in the fall is going to be just disgusting and gross. And
people's trailers are getting stolen.
I know, you know, back to the trailers. Yeah, man, I don't know. And I think that at the end of the day, you just got to live your life and just focus on, like, I think everyone would be better off if we just didn't pay so much attention to the news and didn't pay so much attention to these politicians, and just like focused on improving your life, improving your community, taking care of your friends and family, buying Popeyes for dudes who live in tents in a park, and just stop paying attention to this nonsense, because like I don't see how it's healthy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It'd be a little easier if there's things open outside, but
Is Philly shutting down again?
I mean, my work is something I was thinking of bringing up today, but maybe we'll talk about next time. So my work is work from home from the next like 2 weeks, which is just interesting because like cases are up in Philly, which I get like that it's important because then it makes hospital cases or hospital like capacity go up and stuff, but deaths are about even what they were in the fall. And like Temple, more students actually died from being murdered from getting their car stolen than COVID last semester. So it's like, what precautions are we doing for that to try and save lives? Because if it's like about people dying, then the numbers don't add up.
Yeah, but Jeremy, have you thought about, that the people that are stealing those cars and shooting people, they're victims too, and their life hasn't been good. And maybe we need to think about the fact that owning a car is sort of white privilege-y, and if someone steals it from you, that's sort of your fault. Like, if you didn't have that trailer, it never would have been stolen. So really, this is your fault.
Yeah, I get it. You're right. I guess you're right. Yeah, I don't know. But now I don't have a trailer and someone else does, so I'm probably going to steal that shit back.
Man, I I will love it if you just are walking down the street and you're like, that's my motherfucking trailer. Like,
dude, I won't be surprised. It's going to be within a mile of me. It's probably like chopped up, but it's not far. There's no way.
Man, I don't know, man. I think things are getting wild. I hope and I pray that we're both wrong, and that this turns out to be that things start turning around and maybe we have some sanity, but I don't see it. I'm not optimistic.
Not right now. We'll see how the summer comes, but as of now, it's only going worse and worse.
Ugh, all right, man. I think I've had enough. I'm depressed enough for the day. What about you?
No, I love talking to you. I think it's like the highlight of my day.
Oh,
But
I love talking to you. I just hate what we talk about.
yeah, but no, you're right. I'm gonna go shine my light on the world and try and make it better. I hope you do the same.
I
It's
certainly
always good talking to you. Everyone, be good, stop stealing, eat healthy, and meditate. I don't know, just do the right good things. Love you guys. Have a good year. Peace.
will.